Hi, hello, me again, the proverbial bad penny that keeps turning up on your screens. Oh, not if you don't watch me, but if you do watch me, I keep turning up regularly. It's not a nice Monday. It's blowing a gale and it has started raining. My son has got his washing. It's been drying for 2 days, would you believe, on the clothes maiden. And I've just felt it and it's still damp. I think it's going to have to go in the tumble dryer, even though we are trying not to use it. Because of course, you know, it runs away with the old electric, doesn't it? Well, what news have I got today? The only news is I've finished the back. I was watching a very old episode of Waking the Dead with Trevor Eve and Claire Goose, and I finished off the back of my knitted sweater. Cardigan. Finished that off. So it's quite big actually, and I'm actually hoping that I don't run out of wool. Yarn, whatever you call it. I call it wool. It's been wool to me for years and years and years. We actually had a wool shop, even though we sold a lot of other things besides wool. So to me, anything is wool. Yarn to me is telling a yarn, telling a story, yeah? Or yarn is some kind of cottony, synthetic-y stuff that they used to spill, well probably they did, but spin in the cotton mills. So that's what I think of as yarn, you know. Even my son, who's what, 53, 54, something like that, I can never remember. I've only got one child, I can't remember. And he said, what's all this about yarn? What is it? You're knitting with wool, mother, wool, yeah. So my generation, we call everything wool, yeah. So anyway, finished the back. I should probably start the front, but it's just me and the critters today. You know, I'm going into Ellie Mae mode from the Clampets, me and the critters. We've got Rosie the bark and Trixie the piddle, yeah. Looking at it both being out, I will keep doing that one. So I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at anything, I can assure you. I don't know why I keep doing that. Maybe I should go like that for a change. Luckily, before the rain started, they both went out to do their necessaries, you know, in the gardens. And they're both sleeping again. Must be nice to be able to just sleep the day away. Yeah. I don't know. Well, the first lady came and she brought me my Susan Bates hooks. Yeah, it's really stupid in England or in Britain, maybe, I don't know. You could order Susan Bates, but not with any kind of a handle, yeah. And as for the ones that have got the twist ones, not to be seen anywhere. I don't know whether I could use them anyway, but you know, at least I'd like to have a look at them, but they're not available in the UK whatsoever, yeah. So I had to order these from Amazon and they took about 2-3 weeks to arrive. But let's see if Rosie likes these, because they've got sort of, I don't know whether they're rubber or whether they're some kind of, it just says soft ergonomic, but it doesn't actually say what they're made of. They're just more squashy. I do prefer the wood, and I've actually got a wooden one coming in the 4mm. I think it was the 4mm, was it the 5mm? Might be the 5mm that Rosie chewed up, yeah. She has a passion for anything wooden. She loves paper. She chews anything to do with cardboard. She ruined my son's bed linen upstairs because she chewed through a hair dye box. And I think it was sort of a dark purplish, maroonish shade that my daughter-in-law was going to dye her hair with. And she chewed through the box, and she also chewed through the tube. So it was everywhere. So I think they actually had to buy a new, well, they had to buy a new duvet because it had gone through to the duvet. And they had to buy a new duvet set. Sweet little child, yes, yes. But Trixie is just Miss Piddlebum, because if it's raining, You can put her outside, but she comes straight back in. She will not do the necessary things that she has to do in the garden. Rosie will. Rosie will come back in sopping wet through because she goes round the garden. You know what dogs are like, 42 turns round the garden before they decide on a spot, yeah? But Trixie knows, she goes, oh, it's raining, diva. That dog is a diva. If anybody else has any French bulldogs, are they divas? Because she certainly is. Very much so a diva, yeah. So, oh gosh, the wind is really picking up now. It's August tomorrow, for goodness sake, where is this heat wave? I'm reading about it, everybody, you know, oh, it's too hot, oh, it's too hot. Would you swap with some weather with us? We can give you rain, we can give you wind, would you like that instead? Instead of your high temperatures, would you like a bit of rain and a bit of wind? Because we would gladly swap. You know, summer dresses and you've got to wear a cardigan, you know. Admittedly, this isn't too summery because it's got long sleeves in, but you know the feeling, don't you? Yeah. And yes, I'm wearing one of my eBay beads sets. Got a flower on it. Yeah. Matches the dress. I'll do a little twirl. Shall I do a twirl for you? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Move the camera. It always makes more noise on camera than it does when I'm doing it, so. Ta 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 ta. Ta 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 ta. Don't ask me where I got the dress from, can't remember. And there's a really, you can see there, that's what fell, well, it didn't fall off my wardrobe, it was wrenched off my wardrobe by me. Yes, doesn't help them. See, it's going to make a noise again, and it doesn't make a noise to me when I put it down. And yet when I watch the rerun, it goes like I'm dragging it across the floor. Yeah, it does help when you fall in that you don't take the wardrobe door with you, but one of those things. I actually got let off very lightly, really, because, you know, apart from a few stiff joints, you know, my back, of course, went into a but that's nothing new because it goes most days. I've come out of it remarkably bruise-free. It does help, you know, when you have a little cladding, let's just say. That's the polite way of saying it, isn't it? A little extra padding in certain places that I landed on. You know, I'm not saying what it was, but it's kind of that shape. That's what I landed on. Unfortunately, for once, I didn't hit my head because I landed with my head on the bed. So that was a nice soft landing, wasn't it? Could have been worse because I've got a wooden frame round the bed. So I could have hit that, couldn't I? All I got to come away with was a teeny weeny little bruise about the size of a shilling, the old 5p, on one of my arms. That's all I've got. I haven't had a mirror though and had a look round the back, so you know whether the nether regions have been a bit bruised, I don't really know. Yeah. Anyway, thank you all for your lovely comments about what I was talking about yesterday. It got me thinking about my childhood, you know, and about how, I don't know, I would say happy. Maybe I was very fortunate in being happy. But I think it is all a question of being happy with your lot. I think today's younger generation, forgive me if I'm wrong, if your children and grandchildren are not like this, but they're very dissatisfied, aren't they? They're dissatisfied if they don't have the latest trends, if they don't have the latest, are they computer games these days? I mean, in my son's day it was Xboxes and Pac-Man and things like that. But, you know, they don't have the latest video games, whatever they're called these days. I'm not with it. I've never been a gamer. Never been a gamer in my life. But they do seem to be dissatisfied because they don't have the latest of everything. And what's more, I think it gives them not a good attitude towards their parents. It's like, you are a failure because you can't provide me with all these things, you know. Whereas we would just accepted the fact that we were happy with what we got given, you know. You got a little bit of choice at Christmas. Maybe you would be asked, was there some game or some book, or even in my case a doll that I wanted. But I didn't get the doll and the pram. I got the pram for my birthday, which was November 25th, and I got the doll for Christmas. You didn't get the two together, you know. You know, hang on a minute, you know, Mum had to save up, yeah. And there used to be a paper shop. Well, that's a newsagent. We used to call it a paper shop back in the day. A newsagent that used to have a little card. And you used to go in and you'd pay 2 shillings, a shilling, sometimes if you were richer, 5 shillings. And she would write it in this book and sign it, her initials next to it. And then when you had a little bit of money saved up, you were allowed to go, well, not me, my parents, would go in the shop and choose something to be put away, lay away, yeah. And then by the time Christmas came, hopefully, they would have scrabbled up enough money to pay the balance of whatever it was that they'd chosen for me. You know, it could be roller skates one Christmas, it could be a dolly one Christmas. It could even be just, you know, the annuals, the books, you know, of the comic books, annuals they call them. It could be just that, you know, but whatever. You know, they would save up during the year, and that's what I probably would get. I mean, I didn't realise at the time, I'd be the one that was going down with the 2 shillings or something, and the card, saying, yeah, can you put this on Mrs. Buckley's card, yeah. So that was what it was. I mean, even when we had the shops, we had what we called layaway. I mean, most people now are fortunate enough to be able to afford to go to buy the exact amount of wool, yarn, that they need for a project, you know, because of dye-lots. And if you know about dye-lots can vary vastly, vastly. You could get 2 dye-lots together and they look like 2 different colours, yeah. So we used to do a lay-by system. We used to use shoe boxes, yeah. We'd have a shoe box, and if some lady came in and say she needed 10 balls to make a cardigan, whatever, but she could only afford 2 that day, we would put the other 8 in a shoe box with the date on it and her name written on it, and then we would put it in our layaway seats, you know. And then they had a certain length of time that they had to come and pick it all up in. If it was getting near the end towards the date, and they had been calling in regularly every week, we would put called such a date. So if we were looking at things that had been left and never picked up, you could tell which had never been picked up because it would just be the date we put it away on and nothing after that. And we used to keep it about 6 or 8 weeks, which gave them plenty of time, even if they weren't fast knitters or crocheters, it gave them plenty of time to just buy the wool, a ball or 2 at a time. I mean, we did get left with an awful lot that never got picked up, sadly. People did used to abuse the system. But having said that, my mum used to always insist that we did it because, you know, we'd been in that situation where we couldn't go out and buy 10 rolls of wool all at once, you know. And I think the lady my mum used to go to the wool shop in, I think she used to do it. Put lay-bys or layaways, whatever they called it, yeah. But you could do that in most shops in my day. I mean, when I was a teenager and we had a little bit more money, I was a monkey. I would go up. I was working at the time, but not earning much money. I wasn't working with my mum and dad, I was working in a bank. And they had a fantastic shop in Oldham that sold more boutique-y things, not like high street where everybody's got the same thing on as you. Yeah. But they were that tad bit, well, quite a bit more expensive. So little monkey here would go in and try something on and like it, and put a deposit on it and say, I'll come back when I get paid. So I'd go home and then I would announce to my dad that I'd put a deposit on something. And he would go potty. He would say, no, you don't put things away like that, you know. We're not poor. Meaning, well, we weren't rich, but we weren't poor. No, you don't put things away. And he used to reach in his wallet and give me the money and say, no, go up on the bus and go and get it. You're not having it, our name on things put away like that. It's degrading, blah, 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 blah. Big change from when I was little, when we did everything like that, you know. But I think he thought, now he was coming up in the world, haha, not rich, but coming up in the world, you know. We didn't need to do these things. But I, like I said, was a little monkey because I used to do it on purpose. Because I knew either my mum or my dad would say, no, you're not putting that away. How much was it? How much was it? And I used to say, well, I'll pay you back when I get my wages, because I was paid once a month when I worked at the bank. Of course, I never did. I'd offer sometimes and they go, we've forgotten about it now, but don't do it again. And of course, you're right, I would do it again. Yeah. But today, actually, there's a Facebook page that's for writing, and it's a chat page thing. And I just introduced myself as who I used to be and where I used to live and all that. And a lady said, oh, I remember you. And I thought, oh, I can remember her name, but not her face at all. But then she said she was 88, so I thought, well, you know what it's like when you're a kid. Anybody older than you, you kind of don't remember. You maybe remember your peers that you used to play out with, give or take a couple of years, yeah. But I could remember who my neighbours were, you know, and next door, 2 or 3 doors that way, 2 or 3 doors that way. And it is so funny how things come back to you, where you can remember, you know, people you were at school with, people who were your neighbours. And I'm talking before I was 12, because I think that's when we moved away. I'd just gone to the senior school. I'd be about 12, I think, when we moved away. Didn't move far, we only moved to the next town, but we moved away. But it's funny that. But in between that, for some weird reason I never got to the bottom of, we spent 12 months in Wales. We went with the intention of moving and living in Wales. But my aunt lived in this massive house, well, her and her husband, massive, massive house. So we finished up living with them while we looked for a house, and of course we never did find one. They were really, I hate to say this, but where we were living, it was a little bit villagey and even more behind the times, you know, than we were in our village in Royton. They didn't have electric, you know. They had mains water, but they didn't have any electricity. And also, a lot of the houses we went to look at didn't have a bathroom. But by this time, even though we only lived in the 2 up, 2 down, we had divided part of the back bedroom, got the teeniest little, well, I thought it was the teeniest little bathroom till I moved here. Teeniest little bathroom ever. So to go back to not having a bath and an indoor toilet would have been like a step backwards. So we did look at a lot of houses and we never found anything we liked. And my dad couldn't get a job as a butcher. So he finished up working at a TB sanatorium hospital in Abergele. And I can remember, you know, going with my uncle who was the occupational therapist. I think I've mentioned once before, I wanted to go to university to be an occupational therapist. And I used to go with him. But obviously they wouldn't let me go anywhere near the patients because of the risk of TB. But I used to look, where he had his workshop, I used to look across and see all these people and children. And they used to push them out onto this like veranda, which was covered over, like a sort of lean-to thing. But it was open to the elements because they believed that fresh air cured tuberculosis. can't get my teeth around it these days. So these kiddies and men and women would be pushed out onto the balconies, and they'd be there in their beds, you know, the iron hospital beds, the old-fashioned ones with the rails, yeah. And they'd have waterproof covers over the top of their bedding to keep them dry, because obviously it rained a lot and it was windy and it was cold. And I remember being fascinated with these sorts of children, you know, and thinking, oh my goodness me. And then years and years afterwards, I got friendly with a girl, and her husband had been a patient at this TB hospital. He'd caught TB when he was only tiny, you know, 5, 6, 7 years old. And he remembers vividly like being parted from his parents and stuck in this hospital. You know, being wheeled out every morning, very bored, being wheeled out every morning and wheeled back in again at night. They did put them back in at night, they didn't leave them out in the cold at night. But I can remember living there, and it was snow on the ground, you know, and it was very bad winter when we were there. And these people would still be wheeled out into the fresh air. Oh my goodness me. I often wonder, is there a... There's Rosie Park. I shall bid you farewell to find out what is happening. Bye for now. Oh no, it's okay. It's only the post lady. Rosie takes great exception to anybody putting anything through the letterbox. Rosie, come here, darling. Rosie, 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 come here, sweetheart. Come here, you good girl. Now, having none of it. Come here, Rosie. Come. Nope, he's having to have the last word. Oh, she's here. What are you barking for, sweetheart? What are you barking at? Everybody on YouTube is wondering why you are barking. Oh, that was Trixie yawning. There you go, good girls. What are you doing? Are you staying here with me, Trixie? Trixie Bell. Yes. Yes, little girl. I'll see if I can turn the camera around. Sorry if I make a noise, so that you can see Trixie. Ooh, I can't see what you're looking at. Let's see if you can see Miss Trixie. Ooh, there she is. There she goes. Oh, and there she went. Obviously not a camera hog. Unlike a grandma, of course. Yeah. No, Rosie doesn't like anybody coming anywhere near that's the Ring doorbell, and it just alerts you if anybody's up near your front door. Yeah. It'll only be the post lady. I just hope that Rosie doesn't chew the letter up before I get to it. Anyway, I was saying about this sanatorium thing. I often wonder if, you know, if they have an old boys, old girls reunion page. Mind you, I would imagine that a lot of the elderly people would have died, you know. I just wonder what the success rate was, you know. Did it cure? I mean, it certainly did with my friend's husband. You know, he certainly was cured of it as a little boy. But whether he would have been cured of it without being wheeled out in all weathers, Abergele sanatorium, I don't know. I was talking with my cousin the other day, who we used to live with when we lived in Wales, and he was saying that the sanatorium is now like a sort of a clinic. His wife had gone to have her cataracts done, so it's still in use. The buildings are still being used. But thankfully the incidence of, you know, TB, well, we had eradicated it mostly, but of course our lovely friends that come from other countries have brought it back in again. But you can't say anything like that because you're accused of being a racist if you say anything like that. But obviously in certain third world countries they don't have the medical screening that we have, and so they have not been inoculated against TB. I managed to avoid that actually at school. Everybody my age, well almost everybody my age, has got the ring badge on their arm. It's like an indent. But it was done with, it was a round thing with loads and loads of needles in it, I think, and it left a real bad mark on people's arms, like an indent. But I was ill on the day that they came to school to do it. There was, you know, lined everybody up, stick your arm out and get bum, bum, bum. But I was ill, I wasn't in school, which was very rare for me because I actually had very, very few sick days. You know, when we got the reports at the end of the year, the number of times I'd missed were very, very, you know, you'd put them on one hand. But that day I was missing, so they said, oh, she'll come, the nurse will come back again and inject the ones that have been missed, and she never came. So I never got inoculated against TB. But, so I don't have that ring on my arm like most people my age group have got. Yeah. Because somebody said to me, oh, you know, yours didn't make a mark, did it? I said, no, I never had one done, that's why it never made a mark. I mean, I was injected with everything else. We had the polio and everything, you know, the vaccines for this, the vaccines for that. Pincushion arms, you know, when you were kids. Come here, there was never any, do you want, we would boom, stood in a line while the nurse was sticking the needles in you. Give you a sugar, you know, with the polio or whatever it was. You never questioned, you never asked. You know, there was none of this, oh, anti-vaxxers or, you know, you just lined up in a line and you just got jabbed. I don't think we even asked our parents if they wanted us to be done, you know. I think it was just line up, and jab, jab, jab in your hand. You know, because sometimes I go home and say, oh, my arm's a bit sore. People will be like, why? I don't know. I had an injection today. What was it? I don't know. I wasn't a lot of help as a child. Yeah. So, anyway, it's not a nice day. I can't put my son's washing out to dry. And it's not even, normally the conservatory here is the warmest room in the house. But we've got two windows open, that's what I'm looking at, that's why I am looking sideways. We've got two windows open and it's blowing a gale through them. But even so, you would think that the wind coming through would dry the washing, wouldn't you? But, you know, no, I'm not having any of it. I still haven't decided if I'm going to do vlogs, whatever it's called. Is it vlog every day in August? Probably not. I may do more, but I do feel rather boring because I don't really feel as though I've got anything to show you. You know, I'm not one that's got things coming through the door like, oh, look at this, what I bought. Oh, look at that. Or, oh, look at this, what I've just finished. Because I knit very slowly. And my crocheting at the moment is not going much faster. Because I haven't even picked up a hook or a needle today, and it is probably about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. So I was waiting in this morning though, because we sold the old freezer that was in the garage. We sold it because obviously we've got a new one. There was nothing wrong with the freezer, it was just that people didn't shut the door properly, you know, but there was nothing actually wrong with it. It was working perfectly. So that's gone to its new home. But I was waiting in and waiting in. She said she was coming between 10 and 11. She didn't actually come till 12. So I didn't want to start doing anything, you know, start making my brunch, as it was. And I didn't want to start doing any crocheting or knitting, and I didn't want to start doing a video or anything like that, because I thought, the minute you start doing something, it's obvious. Hello. It's obvious that somebody will come to the door. Anyway, I'm going to go and look now and see what the post lady brought. It won't be anything for me. Bye-bye.